The time is now 5 o'clock. Good evening and welcome to the November 2023 meeting of the Omaha Public Power District Board of Directors. Thank you all for joining us in person at the Omaha Douglas Civic Center and remotely via WebEx. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. With me in person today are my fellow board members, Amanda Bogner, Mike Kavanaugh, Matt Core, Sarah Howard, Craig Moody, and Mary Spurgeon. Denise Molhoff is unable to attend the meeting this evening. We also have President and CEO Javier Fernandez, our General Counsel, Steve Bruckner with the Fraser Stryker Law Firm, and members of our board meeting support staff. OPPD's executive leadership team and subject matter experts are also participating in today's meeting in person and via WebEx. Additionally, we currently have about 5 members of the public here in person at the Civic Center and 23 attendees on WebEx consisting of OPPD employees and members of the public. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I will now ask a member of OPPD's physical security team to provide the safety briefing for our location and for Javier Fernandez to provide other safety reminders.
Good evening and welcome. We have emergency exits on either side of the room. In the event of an evacuation, we would use those and go outside. If we needed to hunker down for any extreme weather, we would again use those stairwells and go into the underneath garage where we would shelter in place. Luckily, though, you wouldn't know it, but it's pretty warm outside and I don't think we have to worry about that. In addition to that, we have first aid, fire suppression, and AEDs accessible to us again at those stairwells and in the back. In the event anybody needs any assistance, please let us know in the room. We have access to the deputy sheriffs and we can get help as quickly as possible to this room. Also, I want to make everybody aware of any trips and falls. Watch out for environmental hazards. We have some just right outside the door there where they're doing some construction, so be careful of that. And in the event of any type of emergency, please just let us know and we'll try to get everybody help as quickly as possible again. So with that, have a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I'm going to walk just quickly on the psychological safety front. As I mentioned on Tuesday, there are many pillars that are the foundation for a psychologically safe environment. And on Tuesday, I mentioned the importance of a culture of curiosity. Summarizing my thoughts on Thursday, we get the unique position here. We have the luxury of providing instantaneous services right now at this very second to our customer owners, hospitals, schools, everyone who's relying on this power. And at the same time, we also have the luxury of thinking about the future, about what is this utility going to look in 30 years from now. So we're working in those two realities of the immediate nature of what we do and also the future planning requires a certain level of curiosity, asking what could it be, how could we solve different problems, how could we come to the table, and ask good questions in the spirit of understanding better the complex industry that we're working on. Next slide, please. The focus for the month of November, work area protection. Very important for us to remind our employees and the members of the public as you begin any work task, any project, especially for our employees, we're trying to make sure that we're taking a hard look at the place that we're going to work on, making sure that we're placing signs, cones, barriers, barricades, so that the work that we do is less dangerous. We're removing hazards as much as we can before we begin the work. That is why you see whenever you see an OPPD bucket truck, you see a lot of cones around them. You see a lot of bright elements to really eliminate or remove as many hazards as we can before we begin the work. Fighting fatigue is an important element here as we continue to have shorter daylight hours. That affects human performance and fatigue starts to kick in. So this is something that we remind our teams about being aware and remind ourselves to take breaks, make sure that we are feeling okay and that we're alert at all times as we perform the work that we do at OPPD. And the last one is looking out for each other, watching out for a fellow crew member, overseeing work as a supervisor or manager. It's very important for us to have the intentionality of looking out after each other. I would like to take this opportunity for the members of the public and for all of us who may not necessarily be working on our facilities. Very important for us to look out after each other. We're going into the holiday season, and those seasons are usually prone to have members of the public, members of your family, yourself, being more subject to mental health issues, depression issues. Check on each other, check on family members. These are usually times for celebration, but also sometimes it could be the other way around. So it's look out for each other, making sure that you and your loved ones are feeling cared for and that you're checking on each other. That concludes my safety briefing.
Great, thanks very much. Now let's run through the guidelines for the conduct of this meeting. This regular board meeting will follow the agenda made available to the public on oppd.com. This meeting is being conducted in person with WebEx conferencing and is being recorded. Our board meetings have public comment periods on the agenda. Comments made by all parties during the meeting are part of the official public record. After the introduction of action items, board members will ask clarifying questions of staff, and then I will ask for public comment. After public comment, the board will conduct its discussion of the matter and then vote. Also, before we adjourn, there will be an opportunity to comment on any other matters of district business. We will take comments in the room first and then via WebEx. For in-person attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please line up behind the microphone in the center of the room. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we will use the timer in the room. Ms. Lane will signal when you have 30 seconds remaining, as well as when time is up. If you have written materials, please deliver them to Ms. Lane. For WebEx attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please send the meeting host a message using the chat feature or utilize the hand raise feature. Detailed instructions can be found on the Oppd website at the link shown on the screen. When I call on a member of the public to speak, please affirm that we can hear you before commencing with your comments. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we will use the timer on screen and signal when you have 30 seconds remaining, as well as when time is up. If you have written materials, please email them to corporatesecretary@oppd.com, and they will be received on our behalf. For all attendees, please direct your comments to me. I will either respond to you directly or defer response to another board member or officer of the district. The board values and welcomes civil, respectful, clear, and concise communication from the public. During public comments, the speaker should refrain from repetitious, profane, or irrelevant comments. Speaker shall refrain from polling the board, as such vote is not on the agenda and is prohibited by law. Ms. Lane, will you please take the roll call?
Director Bogner,
Here.
Director Kavanaugh,
Here.
Director Core,
Here.
Director Howard,
Here.
Director Mulhoff is absent, Director Moody,
Here.
Director Spurgeon,
Here.
Director Williams.
Here.
Notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media by publicizing same in the Omaha World Herald, OPPD outlets newsletter, opp.com, and social media, by displaying such notice on the arcade level of Energy Plaza, and by emailing such notice to each of the district directors on November 10, 2023. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection on oppd.com and in this meeting room. The consent agenda items are as follows. Item 6, approval of the September 2023 financial report, October 2023 meeting minutes, and the November 16, 2023 agenda. Item 7, SD12, Information Management and Security Monitoring Report, Resolution number 6604. Item 8, rescission of Resolution number 5764, Authority to Execute Right-of-Way Payments, Resolution number 6605. Item 9, 2023 COP Excess Expenditures Request, Resolution number 6606. Item 10, SD11 Economic Development Monitoring Report, Resolution number 6607. Item 11, RFP number 6094, OPPD Galvanized Steel Transmission Structures 5-year Steel Manufacturing Alliance Contract, Resolution number 6608. Item 12, RFP number 6096, Northwest Omaha Transmission Construction, Resolution number 6609. Item 13, RFP number 6091, Substation Control Building, Resolution number 6610.
There are no corrections, changes, or additions to the consent agenda. We need a motion and a second to approve the items.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Great. We discussed these items at the all committee meeting on Tuesday, November 14th. Do any members of the public in the room have comments on the consent agenda items? If you'd like to make a comment, please come to the podium in the center of the room.
Good evening, Chairman Williams, members of the esteemed OPPD Board of Directors. My name is Heath Mello, Heathmello. That's 808 Conagra Drive, Suite 400, Omaha, Nebraska 68102. And I have the honor and privilege of serving as the president and CEO of the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce. I'm here tonight to extend our strongest support for both agenda item number 10, SD11 Economic Development Monitoring Report, as well as for the economic development efforts undertaken by the Omaha Public Power District and your talented senior management and economic development teams. OPPD has been a cornerstone of our community, not merely as a utility provider, but as a visionary and proactive entity fostering both economic growth and sustainability. OPPD's commitment to delivering affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy has been instrumental in attracting new businesses to our region, therefore by creating jobs and fostering a robust economic environment. In the Chamber's experience, OPPD doesn't just supply power. They empower our region's workforce, our businesses, and our communities. The Greater Omaha Chamber and the OPPD Economic Development Team are fully integrated partners to help both organizations achieve economic growth for the region. Power is obviously a critical component of any project, whether an existing company expansion or a new to market project. The Greater Omaha Chamber and OPPD teams are in constant communication about these projects to ensure that utilities needs are met, timelines for connections are accurate, and the costs and rates are fully understood. The OPPD team is also part of our weekly project review meetings to align all follow-up between our two organizations. The OPPD Economic Development Team is also a partner beyond specific project work. OPPD has been heavily involved in the Go Ready site certification program that creates virtual shovel-ready and fully development sites throughout our region. This program keeps submitted sites competitive in these regional and national site searches. OPPD and the Greater Omaha Chamber also have partnered to keep the Location 1, better known as Lotus, available site and building database present in both our websites, up to date with over 1,600 buildings and sites. Your leadership team's innovative strategies in energy production and management have lowered operational costs for businesses, making Greater Omaha an attractive location for startups and established corporations alike.
30 seconds.
Moreover, their dedication to renewable energy and environmental stewardship reflects the value of sustainability and sets a precedent for responsible economic development. In conclusion, on behalf of the Greater Omaha Chamber and our nearly 3,000 members, I would like to express our gratitude to the Omaha Public Power District for your continued partnership and focus on strategic economic development. We commend your President and CEO, Javier Fernandez, and your entire team across OPPD for their day in and day out work and recognize the substantial impact they have on driving our local economy. We look forward to continuing this partnership, fostering a brighter and more sustainable future for all of Omaha. Thank you for the opportunity to spend time with you tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thanks very much for your comments. Do any other members of the public have comments related to the consent agenda items? Any discussion from board members? Great. Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Do we have any questions online? Oh, David Corbin. Are you there, David?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. You almost passed me by. David Corbin, Nebraska Sierra Club, 1002 North 49th Street is my home address. I'm responding to SD11, economic development. I like the word that was used by the previous speaker, responsible development, because it's essential that a strong preference be given to economic developments that will be energy efficient and, when feasible, have willingness to commit to clean energy and even battery backup. I did not hear that as a main part of the discussion of SD11. Recruiting businesses or housing without energy efficiency reminds me of a quote from a former University of Nebraska regent who said of a donation of a new building, "If we keep accepting gifts like this, we will go broke." In other words, don't commit to projects that you can't sustain and fund the operation and the maintenance. OPPD should not recruit any housing or businesses that that through being inefficient will be placing an undue burden on the grid for the lifetime of that building. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There is an important difference between growth for growth's sake and smart growth. Incentivizing and promoting smart growth and discouraging wasteful growth would be and should be incorporated into SD 11. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments online for the consent agenda items? Okay, great. At this time, let's do the roll call.
Director Bogner,
Yes.
Director Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Director Core,
Yes.
Director Howard,
Yes.
Director Molhoff is absent, Director Moody,
Yes.
Director Spurgeon,
Yes.
Director Williams.
Yes. The next item on our agenda is the President's report. Javier Fernandez.
Came very quickly. That was get to the right page. Thank you, Chair Williams. My report here is for mostly focused on the month of October. First slide, please. As always, we report on the capacity factor, first starting with our baseload generation. As you can see the numbers in front of you, Nebraska City Units 1 and 2 were in the 55-59% capacity factor for the month of October. North Omaha Unit 4 had a lower capacity factor. That unit entered into a planned outage late in the month of October. It will remain out of in outage mode through November, so next month you will probably see a 0 in there. And this is, again, just a regular planned outage so that we can have that unit back up and running at the beginning of December for the winter season. North Omaha Unit 5 ran for most of the month, had a couple of derates due to some mill outages, but it ran 49%. You may ask why the lower capacity factor is 55-59%. This is not unusual for the fall season when there's wind blowing through our region and flowing through our lines. There are additional resources that are keeping prices low that allow us to operate our units in a different manner. But happy to report the health of the baseload generation fleet is good, and we continue to maintain that. Next slide, starting with Cass County, capacity factor of 8% out of those 2 units. Jones Street saw some activity in the month of October amounting to a 1% capacity factor. Sarpy County with a capacity factor of 4%. Sarpy County unit has had quite a few units on outage, some of them planned, some unplanned outages. It did run at the beginning of the month as a station, but we've had some ongoing maintenance that we're working on that unit, on that station. Same thing, just preparing it for the winter months and especially for the summer months next year. North Omaha Unit 3 ran and had a capacity factor of 21%. We expect on North Omaha 3, this unit will not have a seasonal gas outage for the winter of 2023-24. OPPD and MUD have worked on a path that allows for some limited winter operations for this facility, and it has come in handy as we continue to do work on other units. It helps balance the rest of the fleet. Again, always focused on all of our emissions and reporting on SZ7. Last but not least, on our renewable portfolio, just to remind our viewers, we have a little bit of almost 1,000 megawatts of renewables, and that energy contributed 22.5% of OPPD's retail energy sales for the month of October. Capacity factor for renewables is 30%. 2 elements of that is one, community solar was 19.5%. Again, the daylight hours are getting shorter, and that contributes to a lower capacity factor for community solar. We expect that obviously to increase in the summer months. And capacity factor of wind was 25.7. The reason why capacity factor for renewables is higher than that is because we also have hydro resources and others that count and bring that capacity factor for our renewable portfolio up to 30%. Next slide, please. On careers in energy, OPPD participated in the Center for Energy Workforce Development's National 2023 Careers in Energy Week, and that consisted of two events. One on November 2nd, OPPD collaborated with MPPD, LES, Northwestern Energy, the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and Skills USA to host a virtual Careers in Energy event. We reached over 450 middle and high school students and teachers from across the state. We presented on different topics like cybersecurity and many other careers that these students could start thinking about pursuing once they get out of high school. The other event we hosted, and you can see the pictures here in front of you, was held 2 days on November 7th and 8th. OPPD partnered with the Metropolitan Utilities District to host an in-person event at our Elkhorn Service Center. Over the 2 days, we had over 150 high school students and teachers from 8 Omaha public schools district participate in that event. I myself, I was able to attend and participate with the high school students. It was super not only entertaining, but exciting to see students asking questions, excited about what different career opportunities they could pursue at a utility, which it hasn't necessarily been front and center in terms of career paths, but it's a great opportunity for us to show that there are many career paths that you could pursue with OPPD, and a lot in science, technology, engineering, math, and similar areas. Next slide, please. During the United Way of the Midlands annual meeting on Friday, October 20th, OPPD was awarded with the Corporate Partner of the Year award in the 800-plus employee category. The Corporate Partner of the Year award is presented to businesses in 4 categories that have shown an exceptional level of dedication to the United Way of the Midlands and the community through their corporate campaign and other fundraising efforts. We were always very active on our energy assistance program and working with the United Way to make sure that we can give back to the community that we serve. This success was attributed to outreach efforts and providing our employees with opportunities to give and volunteer their time in creative and fun ways, including the option to make a gift to the energy assistance program, either a cash gift or a vacation donation. And you can see here many of our board members were featured in that picture, and very proud moment for OPPD to receive this recognition from our partners at the United Way. Next slide. Bark Park Volunteering Day. On Friday, November 1st, we had 12 employees from our Syracuse office who volunteered at the Bark Park in Peru, Nebraska. They installed nearly 300 feet of fence. The Peru Impact Group and Omaha County leadership was very grateful to receive support from OPPD, and you can see here the picture of our 12 dedicated employees out of our Syracuse Service Center. Next slide. Okay, this is in response to a comment made a couple of months ago. Hey, what's going on with customer-owned generation update? Can you give an update? So here it is. In 2022, we launched a rebate program for the installation of residential solar when using an OPPD contracted trade ally. The rebates sold out and were replenished in 2023, and to date, we have seen over 50,000 rebates issued to our residential customers, and as of September, OPPD has just shy of 1,500 customer-owned generation systems active for all customer classes. In 2023, we have seen a slight slowdown in growth of customer-owned generation due to rising interest rates and high volume of installers exiting the area. As of September, customer generation applications are down 45% year over year. I believe that's just a matter of supply chain, interest rates, but we believe that's going to pick back up here pretty soon. This is really important for me to point out the Trade Ally program that we've launched. It has been successful. There are things that we can always improve, but it has been successful because it allows our customer owners to have the best information available. We have trade allies that know how to work with OPPD, the processes that we have to go through, and most importantly, to keep everyone safe during installation and after installation, that we know exactly how the systems were installed so that we can always keep our line workers safe as they're working outside. In the future, when you have a generator behind the fence, it's very, very important that we coordinate those installations very well. Next slide, please. Energy Star rebates, our newest rebate program, which it launched So customers who purchase an eligible Energy Star appliance on or after October 1st can apply online while rebate quantities last. The rebates will incentivize our customers to purchase or replace existing appliances with high-efficiency Energy Star appliances. After careful review of our peer utilities appliance incentive programs, plus using market insight from customer feedback and calculating the carbon and energy savings, we have determined that the appropriate rebate amount is $100 for refrigerators, clothes washer, clothes dryer, and $50 for dishwasher and freezer. This is a newest product and part of our growing demand-side management portfolio aimed at giving customer solutions to reduce their energy usage. While there are a lot of factors that go into the actual amount each customer can save, on average, Energy Star appliances use between 10% and 30% less energy. This responding a little bit to the comment that Dr. Corbin mentioned earlier, is this type of promotion that we need to keep in mind as well. It's little by little, all these energy efficiencies, savings help a lot once you start aggregating them across the whole customer base. My last slide for tonight, as always, we honor those who we lost in the line of duty. Walt Pond died on January 7 of 1983 from injuries received during an underground vault explosion just west of 16th and Harney Street in Omaha. Fellow employee Steve Slayton was also with him in the vault and recovered from his injuries. Walt was 56 years old and had been with OPPD for 30 years at the time of his death. Walt was known as an expert splicer. He trained OPPD apprentices and even worked with cable manufacturers to ensure OPPD had the best materials possible. Walt was survived by his wife Kathleen, daughters Diana and Marianne, 5 brothers, 6 sisters, and 3 grandchildren. That concludes my president's report.
Thanks very much. Last item on the agenda is opportunity for comment on other items of district business. In the room first. Go ahead.
David Bagley, 4611 South 96th Street. I'm pleased to follow Chamber of Commerce President Heath Mello. I have a completely different view of the OPPD board. As you probably saw in the Omaha World Herald, I had an op-ed, which the first sentence really summarizes your misbegotten, misplaced faith in solar and wind. Would you buy a car or computer knowing in advance that it would only work less than half the time and sporadically at that, even if you felt, emphasis on the word felt, that your purchase would save the planet from burning up in the year 2100? I was out in York this week, and your Brad Underwood was there about K Junction. He did a nice job. I had an article in the York newspaper, and I'll tell you right now, you have a slim chance, in my opinion, of getting that approved. The regulations are going to be very tough, and there's a very strong opposition. I also had the opportunity recently to listen to Javier's comment to the Nebraska Wind and Solar Conference, which I think I'll attend next year. And he gave a whole lot more color on how much demand you got coming online. And you do not have a plan B. All this 1,500 of wind and solar, you are not going to be getting it. People are opposed to it. I don't know if you read Omaha Magazine, but I do. And there was a nice article about Director Moody and his house remodel. In it, he says, I love being in nature. Bagley agrees. So the question is, and it's a fair question, why is OPPD working to destroy thousands of acres of beautiful Nebraska farmland in order to build ugly, inefficient industrial electricity plants? Good question. So I'll revert to some of my favorite quotes. John Maynard Keynes, when the facts change, I change my opinion. What do you do, sir? George W. Morse, the man who is the founder of public power in the state of Nebraska. Men are often biased in their judgment on account of their sympathy and interest. So my final slide here, proposed resolution, which really summarizes here. The facts have changed. There is no scientific consensus about so-called global warming. Your political subdivision, which I pointed out before, you have to do what the statute requires. You have to do your duty.
30 seconds.
Solar and wind are not low cost, and they are not reliable. So I've laid it all out there. These are all the resolutions you need to approve or need to repeal and revoke and stop this inefficient and crazy, and it is crazy, solar and wind infatuation by the board. Thank you.
Are there other comments in the room?
We're on 114th Street. See, you guys used to call me crazy. Now you're getting called crazy. See how it feels? Lovely, isn't it? Okay, part two of the potential of SMRs. NuScale and Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems announced a 462 megawatt modular SMR. As recently as mid-2021, the target price was pegged at 58 per megawatt. It was risen to 89 megawatts, a 53% increase. Price would be much higher, of course, without the 4 billion federal tax cut subsidies. The target price is due to 75% increase in the estimated construction project from 5.3 to 9.3 billion dollars. From 2016 to 2020, this was 55 megawatts. Price was raised to 58 megawatts when the project was downsized from 12 reactor modules to just 6. Now, after preparing a much more detailed cost estimate, it's soared to 89 megawatts. It's also good to remember that the 89 megawatts is a 2022 price. It substantially understates the utilities and the ratepayers actually pay. For an example, assuming a modest 2% inflation rate through 2030, utilities and ratepayers would pay 102 for each megawatt of power of an SMR. The new estimate makes the NuScale SMR about as expensive on a dollars per kilowatt basis as the 2-reactor Vogtle nuclear power plant currently being built in Georgia, undercutting the claim that SMRs will be cheap to build. NuScales and UAMPS attribute the construction cost increase to inflationary pressure on the energy supply chain. In addition, UAMPS notes that the interest rate used for the project's cost modeling increased 200 basis points since July 2020. Assuming the commodity prices are accurate and the prices of building of SMRs and marketing is indeed of all the SMR designs currently being marketed by any company be much higher than has been acknowledged, and the prices of the power produced by SMRs be much more expensive. And as we briefly said, no one should fool themselves into believing this will be the last cost increase. The project still needs to go through additional design, licensing by the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, construction, pre-operational testing, the experience of other reactors, which was last month, your own personal experience with Fort Calhoun, has repeatedly shown that the further significant cost increases, substantial schedule delays should be anticipated at any stage of project development. So history shows, as I showed last month, that this will not be the last cost increase of the SMR projects. And I congratulate you on your Energy Star program, starting that. That's really awesome.
30
And
seconds.
Complete and continue being crazy because solar and wind is the cheaper option and a cleaner option. And you don't need security guards around a wind turbine. There you go. Oh, and he's right. You probably shouldn't put it on cornfields. You should put it on buildings above parking lots within the city limits. You know, buildings are what uses power. Corn doesn't. Thank you. Have a good day.
Are there additional comments in the room? Seeing none, we have comments online.
John Pollock.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, John. Go ahead.
Okay, John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha. Last month, there was a discussion of metrics, and I emphasized the importance of intermediate metrics to track decarbonization. Now I want to talk about a different climate metric than you're used to hearing about. It is important because it's another way to track climate change. Recent research has given us some fairly reliable numbers. This metric is called Earth Energy Imbalance. It's the net amount of energy being added to the climate system in excess of what is being radiated back to outer space. So it's heat building up in the Earth system. This is distinct from average global temperature. At present, about 90% of the excess heat energy is instead going into the oceans, which have enormous heat capacity. Much of the rest is going into melting glacial ice. In the past 2 decades, we have achieved good measurements of oceanic heat content throughout the world oceans. The Earth energy imbalance during this period has averaged about 0.6 of a watt per square meter, and it appears to be rising. Summed over the entire Earth, that amounts to 300,000 gigawatts. But how much of a problem is that? We also have a geologic perspective achieved through recent advances in geochemistry. It turns out that the average Earth energy imbalance was only about 0.3 of a watt per square meter in the last several millennia of peak heat absorption it took to emerge from the last 2 ice ages. That was enough to melt the continental ice sheets and heat up the oceans and atmosphere. Now we're adding energy at twice that rate due to the accumulation of greenhouse gases so far. That's only for a few decades, but it shows how far out of balance we are and how urgent it is to get back into equilibrium. Switching subjects, I'll give you the Thanksgiving outlook. A piece of the polar vortex will detach and stall between the upper Great Lakes and Hudson Bay next week. This will bring us much colder weather by later in the week. It looks dry after Monday for Thanksgiving travelers.
30
However, there will be a chance of snow developing after Thanksgiving. This is especially true toward Denver and Cheyenne, but there is also a chance for a band of snow to move across the Central Plains. It's too soon for details, so please monitor the forecast for next weekend if you're planning to travel. Thank you and have a safe holiday.
Thank you. Are there other comments online? Great. If there are no other comments in the room or online, that is the end of our agenda, and we are adjourned. Thank you all.